Welcome, ladies and gents. We've got another update on the Alec Baldwin Rust fatal tragedy. I've done two previous videos on this and tried to make them as concise, straight to the point as possible. I'm going to give you a quick summary because that's really important if you're new to this, but also to actually outline the new update, which you kind of read from the title. The armourer is inexperienced. There have been concerns raised about the armourer already. And this also ties in with the other information we had previously had. So, quick rundown, just so we're sort of like all up to speed anyway, and then we'll dive into this new update. There had been a crew walkout because a gun had misfired multiple times, multiple times. And the crew weren't being paid enough, these were union members, and so they chose to walk out. They had money withheld, there were safety concerns. They walked out. The next crew was hired, and it was just locals, just local crew members, just hired, and then that's when the fatal incident took place. The information we know about the fatal incident is Alec Baldwin was handed a gun by the assistant director who shouted "cold gun," basically saying this is safe, don't worry about it. This gun has allegedly been used both in the misfiring after hours, but then it was also, there are some reports to state that this gun had allegedly been used by crew for fun after hours as well. Now, the validity of that last statement, not so sure of. The misfiring, there's enough people sort of coming forward and saying, yeah, it's misfired a few times, you know, whoa. And then they did all walk out. So, you know, I can sort of see it anyway. And obviously Alec Baldwin then, you know, lined up the shot, figuratively and literally, because he was being, you know, it was rolling, and shot the gun. Now, there are some rumours and rumblings, unconfirmed reports that he was kind of waving the gun around and sort of shooting and things like that. That's unconfirmed. We don't have any actual... It's all hearsay at this point in time. The clear-cut, legitimate facts, as we know them anyway, are more, he picked up the gun, lined up a shot, fired, and a live round was in the gun. It penetrated the director of photography, entered and exited, and then clipped the director as well. Obviously, it led to the death of the cinematographer, the director of photography, and then near fatally injured. Anyway, it was the director had to get rushed off to hospital. Now, speaking to other individuals that know guns, they would say that a blank cannot physically penetrate a person with the force needed to exit and then also injure another person. I'm sure there'll be other people that may disagree with that, but I've spoken to a few people now who are very familiar with guns and have been armourers on sets as well, and they said, no, that's like near impossible. There's simply no way that it would be able to do that, really. So I'm going to stand by their word. But now we have new information to actually indicate that the armourer was incredibly inexperienced, and so much so there had been concerns raised about her on another film, where she just handed a gun to an 11-year-old. Pretty mental. So we're going to dive into it now. The validity of all of this, we don't really know just yet. So you're going to have to bear with me on that, at the very least, anyway. This is the article that we're going to be working off today. It is a Daily Beast article. I know loads of people are probably not going to like that, but never mind. Let's dive into it. This information that kind of comes out here, we're going to pick apart as best as possible anyway, and I hope you've been, I want to say I hope you've been enjoying the coverage, but that's sort of in bad taste. I hope you found the coverage as informative as possible anyway. So, on these kind of things, the buck normally always stops with the armourer. But then there's also someone else to blame on top of that as well. Who's in charge of the film? And the problem here is that this is Alec Baldwin's film. He's the executive producer. He created Rust Incorporated, or whatever it is, to make this film, basically. And it looks like, unfortunately, he hired someone that he should not have hired. But let's read out the facts anyway, as reported. So there were previous concerns raised about the 24-year-old armourer who was hired by Alec Baldwin's film Rust. And it is his film. He's the one behind it. With two production sources telling the Daily Beast that filming on the set of her last movie was briefly stopped after she allegedly gave a gun to an 11-year-old actress without checking it properly. Smart. Starting to ring any bells? Starting to seem like this is a recurring theme with this individual, at the very least, anyway. She was a bit careless with the guns, quote, waving it around every now and again, said a source who worked alongside armourer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed on the upcoming Nicolas Cage film The Old Way. And, quote, there were a couple times she was loading the blanks and doing it in a fashion that we thought was unsafe, end quote. Gutierrez-Reed was identified in a Santa Fe Sheriff's Office search warrant affidavit as the armourer on set when Baldwin was given a prop gun he believed was safe. Now, he believed that was safe because the assistant director said it was safe. But there's also the other element here is that, you know, loading blanks into it and things like that and sort of waving it around, yeah. But this individual also removed the casing from the gun afterwards. So, someone got shot. The armourer, this is what happened, Alec Baldwin, this is in the police report anyway. Alec Baldwin gave the gun to the armourer, and the armourer took the casing out. Disarmed the gun, basically. I mean, surely that's a form of tampering with evidence to a certain degree. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that. It's very strange behaviour, you know. And I get it, they're an armourer, but you also need to respect the fact that it is evidence. You can't just start touching stuff. But anyway, so Baldwin discharged the gun, fatally striking 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injuring 48-year-old director Joel Souza. No charges have been brought up, but the Sheriff's Office is investigating and it's ongoing. Sources on the Rust set have insisted the fatal accident was a result of failings from top to bottom, starting with the production's low budget and cost-cutting measures. They haven't been paid. They walked off. It's not a good sign. Gutierrez-Reed was described as being inexperienced and green by a Rust production source who told the Daily Beast there were at least 2 previous incidents of guns being accidentally discharged by the crew members before Thursday's tragic incident. This is the two misfires that happened. And this is sadly Helena Hutchins, who is now passed, RIP. According to the Actors Equality Association's guidelines, guns should be test fired off stage before each use. All loading of firearms must be done by the property master, armourer, or experienced persons working under their direct supervision, the association advises. That wasn't done, we know that, because the assistant director literally said, yeah, no, I picked it up, handed it to him, and said it was cold. I didn't fire it, I didn't do anything, I just gave the gun. So that wasn't done. So, I mean, this is gross negligence. There's no two ways about it. It's gross negligence. Yeah. 2 Rust production sources who have both worked in the industry for decades claim that assistant director Dave Halls, who is named in the search warrant affidavit as the person who handed the gun to Baldwin and said it was safe, should have also checked the weapons. Of course he should have. Of course he should have. He's handing it to him. There's a line, you know. It's think of like a factory line, a conveyor belt, each checking each piece. You know, sanity check. Is this safe? Is this safe? Is this safe? He's supposed to be our last line of defence and he failed us, the first source said. He's the last person that's supposed to look at the firearm. Yeah, I mean, it's unequivocal. You can't really argue with it. According to the affidavit, Gutierrez-Reed had placed 3 prop guns on a cart outside where the scenes was being filmed. Before Halls grabbed a revolver from the cart and gave it to Baldwin, Halls called out, "Cold gun," on set, according to the affidavit. And that indicates, in the industry, this gun is completely safe. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Having not checked it, though. Now, the second production source told the Daily Beast that the first assistant director should be personally verifying whether a weapon is hot or cold. A cold gun indicates that there are no cartridges, including blanks, inside the firearm. A hot gun indicates the weapon is loaded with cartridges, either live ammunition or blank rounds. This check alone should have prevented this incident. You can't argue with that statement. In a heartbreaking 911 call, script supervisor Mamie Mitchell also seemed to reference Halls as she urgently asked a dispatcher to send an ambulance to the set, Bonanza Creek Ranch on the outskirts of Santa Fe. Mitchell can be overheard telling someone nearby, "This fucking AD that yelled at me at lunch, asking about revisions, this motherfucker, did you see him lean over my desk and yell at me? He's supposed to check the guns, he's responsible for what happened." Now, I'm not going to play the 911 call. I don't know how much we're allowed to really show on YouTube. YouTube gets quite funny about these things. But I'll leave this article down below in the description. Just go check it out yourself. But I mean, look, there's a lot of these things which you can't argue with. You just can't. The allegations from Rust crew members appear to mirror allegations from 2 production sources who worked with Gutierrez-Reed on The Old Way, where she was hired as head armourer. Gutierrez-Reed did not respond to the Daily Beast's request for comment on Saturday, and the Daily Beast also reached out to Rust Movie Productions LLC and Halls for comment. In a statement to the New York Times, the company said it had not been made aware of any official complaints concerning weapon or prop safety on set. No, but your whole crew walked out. Come on. Come on. And then they said that we're going to conduct an internal review. I mean, that's just like patting yourself on the back. Yeah, no, we're fine. Don't worry about it. No, you're not. Your crew walked off. Your crew walked off the set and you hired locals. What they would call scabs. Because obviously unions got together and they staged a walkout. Look, there's not much else really to sort of go into here. It does say, however, that is not how production sources from The Old Way described their experience working with Gutierrez-Reed. There are several concerns I brought to the production's attention. One said, I have been around firearms my entire life and noticed some things that were not okay, even with loaded blank firearms. Another source said, compared to other sets they had been on, there was considerably less attention to gun safety under Gutierrez-Reed's watch. The most troubling incident occurred when Gutierrez-Reed allegedly loaded a gun on the ground where the area was filled with pebbles, then without properly checking the weapon handed it to child actress Ryan Kiera Armstrong, both sources told the Daily Beast. Concerned crew members intervened, demanding filming to be stopped until Gutierrez-Reed had properly checked the firearm. If you have to stop filming and other people are intervening, you're a shit armourer. If you're the head armourer and other people are going, yeah, no, stop. That's bad. That's real bad. She was reloading the gun on the ground where there were pebbles and stuff. We didn't see her check it. We didn't know if something got in the barrel or not. One source said, explaining the crew waited until she double-checked the gun for barrel obstruction. Detectives are still investigating the circumstances that led to the tragic accident. However, in the days leading up to it, there was trouble brewing on the set. Multiple complaints, and then at least 6 crew members reportedly walked off. There was like barely anyone really around that day. Well, there was people obviously, but 6 crew members had left, and then they had to hire other people. Production source said crew members had complained directly to Halls about the previous accidental gun discharges over the weekend, demanding to make sure they were documented. All of us yelled at him, that better be on the production report. These guys are irresponsible and shouldn't be here. Source explained, that should be the automatic grounds for termination on a union film set. You should be gone. The first time that gun went off without telling anybody, that whole department should have been replaced immediately. Clearly production thought better of it, decided to roll the dice and pay the ultimate price. I mean, you can't argue with these things. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just tragic. It really is tragic. Sources have maintained that the film's production company would do anything to save money. For example, they promised to put the crew up in a hotel, but they didn't. This is this is why the 6 crew members walked off. They're like, you didn't put up us in a hotel. It's in our contract. Why are you not doing that? Like, why? And then, yeah, basically just stating the line of responsibility there. It's the armourer's responsibility. So there you go. Another report video on this tragic incident, and it is tragic, but this will be a game changer for the industry on a whole. This will change stuff massively so, and obviously I keep repeating it, but not good for obviously all those involved. Tragic, RIP to Helena Hutchins and family and friends and things like that. It's awful. It really is truly awful. But you cheap out, you don't listen to concerns, you do unfortunately pay the ultimate price. So I hope you found this video as informative as possible. If you did and you learned something, then please do hit that like button and please do share it. Really would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Take care.